Now we are live on Facebook, so welcome everybody. First time here on Help Without a Reward. That's kind of cool. We have Brendan as always and Geir. I think most of everybody knows Geir. And then we have Tone. This is like a crazy topic, I think, because sexologist. I had to like repeat the word sexologist.
Sexologist, yes.
That's,
I love it.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. What made you like choose that kind of work?
And also, I wonder what constitutes a sexologist. That, yeah. Like, how do you get there?
Do you call yourself a sex worker?
Many questions. Oh my God, very different directions. Well, I'll try to sort them out. First, I always wanted to be a sexologist since I was 5 or 6 years old. Sex has always been a major interest of mine. So my Barbie dolls, they didn't go shopping or play mom and dad. They had threesomes and sex clubs, and it was a lot. And when I was 14, I bought my first sex book, and I wanted to learn everything in theory, and bought everything in books that I got and borrowed a lot on the library. And I wanted to become a sexologist. And then I learned that in Norway, you have to go become a psychologist or a doctor or a nurse to become a sexologist, and I didn't want those kind of jobs. So I became a waitress instead. And after many years of different kind of jobs, I found out that Sexologist, that's a Danish school, they opened up in Norway. So in 2019, I was finally, after 20 years of self-studying, I was able to get my degree as a sexologist and couples therapist. So that was fun. And I don't work as a sex worker, but many men think that. So I get a lot of questions every day about selling sex. And to become a sexologist, you don't actually have to do something because it's not a protected title in Norway. But if you want a serious sexologist, they have a degree. They have an education in it, and I have papers that I have a certificate to be a sexologist.
Cool. So do you do a lot of then, or what do you actually do? I mean, because you can focus on different things. You can help individuals, you can help couples, I guess.
Yes.
So what is your main thing? What do you deliver the best?
Oh, I do so much. I have clients on a daily basis, both singles and couples, and we talk about so many subjects. And then I have lectures. I teach sex eds in schools from first grade and up to high school and higher classes. I teach at Sexologist as a teacher there to the new sexologists in the world. And I speak for, what you call it? The English language for...
Just say it in Norwegian and then they will
have... Like public speaking?
Also foreninger.
Public speaking.
Like that,
engagement.
And lectures and stuff like that at festivals and things like that. So I do a lot of things. And I'm very active on Instagram, and I'm going to start up in Boon TV, a channel there, to have lectures there. And so I do so much. I guest in a lot of podcasts and write for magazines. They ask me for my expertise constantly.
Okay, so just about everything.
So I do,
it's like the whole
everything. I'm a writer for a new app that's coming in Norway and Denmark next year. And so I do so much. I have a 12-hour workday every day.
Now, another question then, follow up on that one. What is your favorite topic within sex? Yeah, but within sex, like if you take sex as like the broad scope and the broad sort of category, what would be your favorite bits in there?
Pleasure, because you don't talk enough about pleasure. You talk about the orgasms, and you talk about the foreplay and the sex and penetration and the vulva and the penis and the vagina and everything like that. But very few talk about pleasure, enjoying sex, enjoying each other, the pleasure you get from touching and kissing and enjoying sex on a higher level. So I think pleasure is my favorite talking, and female health, because females don't get enough research on their health problems. So that's one of my major topics that I talk about.
Now,
and sex
yeah, and pleasure is interesting because when you talk about sexology, or at least this is my impression, then it very quickly becomes physical. It becomes, you know, sizes and orgasm, as you say, and ejaculation and blah 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 blah. And too seldom it's about the emotional aspect of it, I guess.
Absolutely. Yes, and you talk when I talk to couples, especially couples, it's foreplay, and you have penetration, and in a best kind of scenario, the woman has her orgasm, and then the man has his orgasm, and they fall asleep. And some of them aren't happy about that. So I try to teach couples and singles that you shouldn't divide the sex in categories. You should have a long session of just pleasure. Enjoy each other from start to finish, and you don't have to finish with orgasm. You can have wonderful sex without the orgasm. So we have to take it away and say, okay, how can we enjoy each other the best way possible? And eye contact is one of the best ways to enjoy sex together. And a lot of people don't think about that because they have to try a lot of special sex positions and doggy style and cowgirl and cowboy and from on top and down under and everything like that. And if you try to switch position during sex, you see that you're losing connection and you lose the pleasure, and then you lose everything. And then you just have a lot of random positions and try to have exciting sex. And
so it becomes a circus act rather than a pleasure act.
Yeah, and a lot of them think they have to perform as porn stars, like women and men, and because they learn in porn. That's why sex ed is one of my major banner things. Because kids today learn from porn, and kids grow up. So if nobody teaches them anything else, porn is their major sex ed. So they think they have to perform as porn stars, and that doesn't work because what you see in porn is fake. So I have a lot of frustrating young people that say, but it doesn't work. What I see in porn doesn't work in the bedroom. And I say, no, it doesn't, because you don't have 6 hours to film those 15 minutes. So we have to learn about pleasure. That's the main thing.
So every week we talk about different things that we can do with kids, that we can say, okay, so let's sit down with kids and talk about how to be good at asking questions and how to be good at getting friends and how to avoid being bullied at school and how to, but this is one area that really differentiates from every other week, because it's not like, hey kids, come and watch how emotional sex mama and papa can have in the bedroom. That would just this week is just like something totally different. And they say exactly what you say, because that's not a norm in society. Then they actually turn to porn. That's what they do. So this is quite different than every other week, which is fun.
Yes,
and I think,
sorry, I'll keep it going, and then I will, just what because I was wondering, do you think now especially in these times, do you think you will have more job after the corona times when we
absolutely yes, I see it already that it's exploded. A lot of people need help, both couples and singles.
That was a nice play on words. It's exploded.
Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah, sexplosions and sexploded. You got them all covered.
I know. I love my job. I can do things like this.
Did you just say sexploded?
And no one can say otherwise. It's actually exploded. It's so many couples having a hard time now, and so many singles, because in Norwegian we say hudsult. They have lack of touching and human contact, and especially singles that can't go out and have one-night stands and dates and things like that anymore because it's dangerous. You can die. So it's becoming a huge problem in the society, and they come to me and they talk about their frustration. And couples that maybe haven't talked for years, couples been together 20, 30 years, that suddenly sit here and say, I can't live with this person because we're together 24/7. Usually we were separated by work, but now we have to live on top of each other all the time. And then you have the couples who actually use this time to explore their sex life and try to connect again. But if the children are home, what to do? So it's very interesting to see all the problems the corona have.
So just because we're in this sub, what is your best tips for people to do then? I mean,
talk together.
Yeah.
People don't talk together at all. They don't open up to their partners. And I think it's really sad because when it comes to sex, when it comes to feelings, when it comes to relationship issues, when it comes to kids, when it comes to everything in their life, they don't talk together. Communication is key in everything. If you want to have great sex, if you want to have a great love life, if you want to have a great relationship, you have to have communication. So that's my main job, especially this time, to teach people how to communicate, how to put words to their feelings, how to tell their partner that I don't have the time of my life with the corona. I'm lonely in the relationship, or I don't enjoy our sex life, or whatever it is.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting because I've done a lot of courses and training in communication, lots and lots and lots of it through the last 30 years at least. And we start with actually some exercises trying to be present, trying to just be here, doing nothing, and with eyes closed. And then the next level up is actually sitting straight across each other and just looking into each other's eyes, not staring, but actually comfortably looking into the other person's eyes. And that is one level up or several level up for people, because they start laughing, they can't do it, but after a while it actually becomes a comfortable situation and they can do it. The next thing after that is trying to iron out all the buttons people have. And usually people have a lot of buttons, a lot of pressure points on sex. You can talk about sex, and I've done this a million times, or not a million, but thousands at least. And then, you know, trying to come up with stuff that they react on, and then pushing that button until they don't react anymore, until they are not uncomfortable talking about that subject, be it orgasm, ejaculation, or whatnot. So, and then beyond that, then you get the what it's, you know, talking about the relationship, etc. Because I've done a few of those too, not as much as you have, but the basic training I've done a lot. And it is interesting to know a person like you, because sometimes I get into, yes, you can look at each other, you can push each other's button, but then we get into the point where you should talk about sex. Now I can take those couples and just show them to you.
Yeah, do it. Because we come to a point there, they have to have trust again, because a lot of the couples coming to me, they don't trust each other anymore. And I also usually break them up into singles therapy, just to make them talk openly about their feelings. And so many people say that I can't say this to my spouse because it will hurt him or it will hurt her. And I said, well, it's hurting you not talking to her or talking to him and telling him this. And communication can be so many things. And one of the exercises I do with couples is actually eye contact, to make them look at each other. And I also use this when it's something they're uncomfortable talking about. For example, sex. I make them come up with the words they're uncomfortable with, and I make them say it in the mirror to themselves until it gets ridiculous. Yeah. For example, clitoris or vulva or vagina or anus. If any of the words that are natural for you to say it out loud until it gets ridiculous and loses all meaning. And ask yourself, why is it difficult to say this? Why is it difficult to say to your partner that, well, the oral sex you give me isn't good enough, but if you do it this way, it will work much better. Or when you're fingering me, it doesn't work quite because you can't push the right buttons. So if you do it a little bit differently, that would be amazing. Or I need you to kiss me on the neck instead of my breasts because I'm more sensitive there. And it's like a whole other level for people to even think about talking to the partner about things like that. But that's my job, sitting here, trying to translate what they're saying, trying to make them comfortable enough to talk to each other and talk about sex.
You know, this is so parallel to the training I do with people, including top athletes and then the people on stage, etc., because they have they're not into sex when they're doing, you know, skiing or whatever, but they are into something, another type of performance though. and they have different buttons that need to be pushed. But the basic training is very similar. It's about being here, experiencing what is there, not being mentally or emotionally triggered by stuff. You can actually talk about all the difficult situations with your trainer, with your teammates, with whatever. It's similar. It's very similar. It's just that you treat specifically in the area of what people might think is most touchy, namely sex. So,
and people think it's really difficult. And I think it's funny that sex, that's the most natural thing in the world, sexuality and pleasure and orgasm, what we had for thousands and millions of years, should be this difficult to talk about and so taboo to talk about. Why is it so difficult for so many? Because everyone has sex, or at least 99% of the world's population has sex.
Yeah, and it's a lot
to actually make babies.
It's a lot more natural than skiing.
Yeah, it is. But you can talk to everybody about skiing. What you saw
really
on
difficult.
TV yeah, but you can't talk to your mates about sex. It's so hard.
My concern, I have to interrupt, but my concern is like when you talk about like they have so difficulties talking to each other about sex, but how about our children, and how should we learn up? Are they talking to the children at all, or do they leave like to porn or to the schools to teach them how sex is doing? Because that has to be a problem in Norway.
It's a big problem, and sex ed is so underrated. And people has this perception that kids should be innocent and you should protect kids from the nasty things about sex. And it's the opposite, because if you don't teach them about boundaries, sexuality, gender, LGBTQ plus, everything about the sexuality, bullying will happen, sexual assaults will happen. 50% of sexual assaults on children is done by other children, usually the same age, in the same class. We don't know about it because they don't talk about it, and because they don't know it's wrong. And parents tell me that, they think they should learn this in school, and school says, well, it's the parents' responsibility. And I stand there and I have so many questions from the children, and I say, why don't any grown-up answer these questions?
But I have read your site and you say that you have to, they start really early to explore their sexuality. So how early do you think parents should talk to the children about sex?
From they're born.
Yeah, I know a kindergarten in Oslo where there was they actually had a couple of pages in Aftenposten a couple of years ago, because they had this very free discussion about sex, and the media pretty much attacked them that who do they think they are discussing sex so freely and openly to these poor innocent children. And it was pretty wild, because the only people that make it not one of the nicest things that exists are people that have difficulties themselves with the topic of sex. So the people that working in the kindergartens that have a healthy, natural relationship with sex don't have a problem with it. They can talk freely with it.
Yeah.
And I think I think the biggest problem is that we see a gender, separation there, because when you're at the health station with your baby, you see a huge difference with the mothers who has baby boys and the mothers who have baby girls. And during diaper change, the baby boys, they can play with themselves, and the mothers blow on their little penises so it gets hard, and the mother says, oh, do you like that? Do you think it's wonderful? And they can have a pleasant time about it. But the girls, the mothers take the little girl's hands away from their vulva and put the diaper on as fast as possible, because girls shouldn't touch themselves. And you start already there to put shame on the children. And children masturbate from they're 1 to 2 years old. That's normal. Some people start when they're 1 year old. Some people start when they're 5 year old. Some people don't touch themselves before they're 10, 11. But if they can ask questions freely, they will be really comfortable with themselves and learn that it's natural, and they will take that when they're grown-ups. And the thing is that also sexual assault happen. Like I said, 50% happen from other children. But the rest of the percentage is from people close to the child, like another parent, grandparent, uncle, family friend. If we talk to children about their sexuality and boundaries from very young age, they will learn that it's not okay to be touched in certain ways from grown-ups or other children. And they can learn how to tell a grown-up they trust about the sexual assault. And we will help so many children if we could just get over ourselves and say, okay, it's children, but they're born with the sexuality. Let's tell them about it so they can learn about it. Yeah. I think that's the biggest problem in society, that we don't talk to children about sex.
I have had an interesting experience because my oldest son, I got 4 sons, and my oldest son is now 21. When he was about 4, I guess, around 4, we were, talking in bed about various subjects, and then he asked me, so how does kids appear? And I said, yeah, they get born. No. How does he actually get in there? How does it get into the womb of the mother? And then I had to tell him about everything, and he asked and asked and asked, and I had to tell him about orgasm and everything, physical, emotional, everything. And then he said, okay, fine, let's go back to the princess story now. And then he was fine with it. He was completely fine with it. It was like a 15-minute conversation deep into everything, and he was like, yeah, okay, fine, got that. So it's not touchy for the kids. It's not embarrassing for the kids at all. It's embarrassing for the parent usually, and that's why we avoid it, which is really odd from my perspective.
And I think it's funny because when I teach classes from 6 years old and up to 20 years old, I ask many of the 10-year-old, how many here has watched porn? And almost 50% every time reach their hand in there and like, well, we watch porn. And some of them look down and would raise their hand if they had the guts for it. And the parents to the same class, 100% of them will say, my child doesn't watch porn. And I say, well, at least 50% of your children put their hands in there when I ask. So some of your children watch porn. No, but my child doesn't watch porn. I was like, are you sure? How can you be sure?
But if you asked
does she have a cell phone? So, yeah.
If you asked at a parent-teacher meeting, so I'm here and I talk about sex, how many of you parents masturbate? How many do you think would raise their hands?
None of them would raise their hand, but I know the answers to that.
Yeah, exactly.
But Cathrine asked what age you should talk to the kids. Honestly, when they start asking questions, because they will ask questions, and people think they should sit down with their kids and have the talk, and that's completely wrong. Because, like I said, answer when they have questions, because it doesn't have to take long. My son is 10 years old. He turns 11 this year, and when he was like 7, he suddenly out of the blue, he was making his food and said, Mom, what is it called when 2 guys are lovers? And I was like, oh, they're called gay or homosexual. Okay. And he kept going, and suddenly he stopped again. But what with 2 girls? And I was like, well, you have 2 grandmas. Your grandmother and grandmother are married, and they are called lesbians. Ah, okay. But can you like both? And I was like, yes, you can like both. Then you're bisexual. And he was like, oh, I think I'm bisexual. And I was like, good for you. Then you don't have to make any decision in life. You can just pick anyone you want.
I also want to comment the things you said before I forget it, that talk to the children when they start asking as early as possible. You said that, but also like make the environment for them like easy to talk about, not only when they ask, but make them like feel safe to ask questions about their sexuality, so it doesn't like be a taboo when they start asking. I think that's this is the best book you can buy to children. It's Hvordan lager man en baby? How to make a baby. And it's Anna Fiske. She's a Swede.
They use that. School use this book.
They have pictures like this.
Those pictures. There's a picture in that that's going like, hello, welcome in. And
that's this one.
They're so great.
That's this one.
Yeah, they're great.
Hello, welcome in. I love this. My daughter, who's 4 years old, she loves this book. And my son, he read it 1,000 times because it's it explains everything the children need to know on a age-like basis. My daughter that's 4 get completely different things out of this book than my son who's 10. And I can explain it on different levels in different age limits. And this book is the best book you can buy as a parent, because it will teach the kids in a good way and they can read it over and over again. And you just have to answer the questions.
So we will post a link to that book on our group, I think.
It was really popular. My girls, they had that here at home. They give this from Rødtvet School, and so my girls were looking through it. And I know Anna Fiske. I used to work with her, and some of it we were just talking about it. Yeah, look at this one. This one's really cool, and this image here is really cool. But also Jenteboken, we bought that, and that is an amazing book. I think every girl in Norway deserves to have a copy of Jenteboken as well, and just like have it there and let them open it and read any page at any time.
I have so many books on my shelf that I could recommend, but yeah, Jenteboken is very good. And if you have, as a parent, if you buy a sex book or a sex book for children, you have every answer there. You don't have to think about what to say and how to say it. And if you have questions, I have mothers and dads sending me questions every day on Instagram or Facebook, and my kid asked this today. How do I answer? She's 6 years old, or he's 8 years old. I don't know how to answer this. What would you say? And I was like, say this and this and this. It's no problem. It's fine.
So
now, what we should do as a recommendation or suggestion to people who are watching this is that now we are talking about books in Norwegian, right? And most of the audience here is not, they don't read Norwegian. So if the audience also, or if you can recommend books that they have seen in the English language, just as comments underneath this video, that would also be really cool.
I grew up as Irish Catholic, so we've never masturbated, and we were told no, and we were told as 17-year-old boys that we had to go to sleep with our hands by our side and don't even think about touching ourselves. So it was like really really hardcore that nobody ever does that. That's something that's just like no.
But Tone,
I grew up in a very Christian society in the Norwegian countryside, and we learned on our confirmation camp that if we had sex before marriage, the devil will take our soul and we would die. So hands to the side, I will take that.
what a fucked up message to tell kids. Like, it's crazy. It's really crazy.
And I was like 14 years old, and I was like, okay, no sex then, ever. Because I'm never getting married, so no sex for me. Oh my God.
Do you have a book like only for the boys? Because I think also boys like.
I do.
Yeah.
Of course I do. I have everything.
I haven't heard about anyone for the boys. I think they have a lot.
It's called Respect as en sexbok for gutter, a sex book for boys. It's written by Inti Chavez Perez, and I have no idea if it's in English. This one is Norwegian. It came out on Danish the first time. Shall we see? It's originally in Swedish, actually. He's a Swedish writer, and it's in Swedish and Danish and Norwegian. I have no idea if it's in English, but it's called Respect, a sex book for toys. No, for boys, sorry. And it actually has everything. The one thing that concerns me is that he's not a sexologist, and it shows. Because it was a troublesome sentence here, because it written about anal sex, very good, very important, but it stands here that you can use vegetables to exercise with or experience with, and using vegetables is very dangerous because they can have sharp edges. For example, a carrot or a squash, it can have like a little sharp thing, then you can actually cut yourself inside and an air bubble will come in and you can die from it. And also putting things in that's not used to anal pleasure, it's very dangerous because if it disappears in, you have to operate it out. You can't push it out like from the vagina. And so that I found disturbing in that book. But other than that, it's a very good book. It's everything. And it also goes on female sexuality, so the boys can learn about menstruation and female parts and stuff. So they know that it's not something that happened some women, but all women. So it's a very good book.
That could be a little bit dangerous, boys reading a book like that hasn't got the best guidance or tips, saying that, yeah, but telling their girlfriend, I read this in a book that vegetables are okay. And that
that's so we said that the book is really good, but it was that one concerning thing that it says, and that's wrong. But I've also read other books that read. Thank you. I've read other books for like puberty, and it's talk about the hymen as something that pops the first time the girl has sex, and that's also incorrect because we don't have a hymen that pops during the first time we have sex. Very few has a hymen that cover the entire vulva or the vagina. So some books has a little wrong information, and you should ask a sexologist if you wonder about things you read. Don't do
so the vegetables are out, but the fruits like melon could be fine. No, I'm just kidding.
Good luck with that.
Like a watermelon. We need a watermelon.
A watermelon. That would be fun to watch.
No comparisons to melons, but I think some boys really like have size as a big topic when they are talking or thinking about sex.
And the fun part is that penis envy isn't a girl thing, it's a guy thing. And girls don't think about size, except from if it's really, really small or way too big. So size, boys, don't think too hard about it. And I think it's really disturbing that more and more boys want to operate, to have prolonged surgery just to get 1 centimeter longer penis. And the thing is that you can make it 1 centimeter longer while it's limp, but you have the same size when it's erected. So it doesn't have anything to say sexually, except it can ruin your sex life by destroying the ligaments that hold it together.
But it's like a big trend now also for the girls to operate and look better down on their vagina.
Yeah.
But I still, if you ask a man, how do I look, or should I look different down there? I don't think any men have recognized something bad about you. Like if you ask.
Well, that's the problem, because way too many men actually comment on female vulvas the vulva is what you see on the outside, and the vagina is what you see on the inside, or what's on the inside. So you have, when you start having sex too early, like many people have today, they start having sex when they're 13, 14 years old. The vulva isn't finished yet. So what the guys know is a smooth little vulva that doesn't have the labia outside, or doesn't show anything, or doesn't have pubic hairs or anything like that. And when they then have sex with older girls and women, it suddenly looks totally different. And that's a problem, because they start commenting on it. And the girls think we should look different because I've seen in porn that they don't have anything that shows. And I think it's really sad that young girls down in 15, 16 years old want to operate on their vulvas, because it's not necessary. And it can be very, very hurtful.
I think also that a lot of men have typically, like, they've watched porn and they've seen in porn movies that size does matter. And through this like freedom movement of women have had easier sex to porn. And young girls then see on porn that size does matter. In porn, that size does matter. So then we have like both girls and boys growing up with a really absurd thing that size matters. And if I say this when we're having sex, then you're supposed to be aroused. And it's like, where the heck did like nice, emotional, pleasurable sex go to? I think maybe we've lost a bit along the way through easy access to porn.
I actually saw a program here, I think it was last week or the week before that. It was a Danish documentary, British documentary shown on Danish TV about penises. And one of the gay guys there, he actually said that the problem today is that straight men doesn't see enough erected penises. They only see limp penises when they go to the swimming hall or go to the gym or something like that. Yeah, but that's true, because a limp
I just
penis
get these strange pictures in my head sometimes. Some places I don't want to see a lot of. Yeah, there's some places just like, yeah, it's fine. It's just
let's talk about it.
I've told you that I'm a damaged Irish Catholic, and if I'm in the showers with a lot of my friends after squash or something, it's like I get this image. Okay, I just don't want to see a lot of erected penises where I see a lot of naked men. So it's just.
But that's the problem, because a limp penis can grow in size 3 times its length when it's erected, but you don't see that. So you think you are small and you see the other guys maybe have a big penis, but it just grows a little when it's erected. When it's fully erected, maybe it's just a couple of centimeters longer from limp. While one who has a really small penis when it's limp can be 3 times the size erected. So straight man has a really fucked up image about what a penis should look like and what size is natural. And I think he had a good point when he said straight men need to see more erected penises and not the ones in porn. Because you should really look inside and see, can you pleasure a woman? Well, in our vagina, we have 2,000 nerve cells, or nerve endings, and nerve ends. And clitoris has 8,000. And the head of the penis has 4,000. So when you put a penis in the vagina, she doesn't feel very much because it's supposed to come out babies from there. So we can't feel very much there because then it would destroy us during labor. And in and out sex is mostly for the guys. Everything's happening on the clitoris and on the outside for the girl. Few of us get orgasm during penetrative sex. Only 20% of women actually can have orgasm during penetrative sex without any other stimulation. So if you have your fingers and your tongue in order and other things and have the right amount of pleasure focus and give her attention and eye contact and a lot of emotions, that's more important than the size. So
I've got a friend in Ireland, we call him the horse. No, but he's always been called that since we were like small kids in the changing room. And I was always like, well, it's okay. He can have that size. I don't really, I was like a football player, you know, I was like into sports. And I was thinking like, that would sort of get a little bit in the way. It was sort of like too big. So it's what
the average erected penis in Scandinavia is 13 centimeters.
That's probably a really good info on this this webinar right now. Like actual size, because guys
actual size.
Yeah,
actual
guys have no idea.
The normal size for a erected penis in Scandinavia or Europe in general is from 9 centimeters and up to 20 centimeters, and the average is about 13.3 something. We say 13.
Okay, guys, everybody take out a ruler tonight.
Yeah, and a vagina is between 8 centimeters and 12 centimeters, with 10 centimeters as an average. So if you have a 13 centimeter long penis, it's more than enough. You have 3 centimeters to spare. And most women think it's painful when the penis hit her uterus, I believe, more top. What is that in English? The
thing sticking out in there.
The thing sticking out in there to the bottom. Yeah. When the guys hit the bottom of the vagina, that's painful for most women. So if you have 13 or 12 or 11 centimeters, that's more than enough. You don't need 20, 22. That you can't even get halfway in without hurting her.
And you made a great point about that's not the things that feel the greatest. It's round. It's not inside there. So that's a big misunderstanding, I think. So it doesn't matter actually.
It's like the only time that men like to hear that it's or when men say it's not that big is when they're trying anal sex, and that's when men really say, no, I promise it's not that big. It's okay. That's the only time men try to convince girls that they have a small penis, when they're just ready to do anal sex. No, it's probably true. Every other time's like, yeah, I know it's big, but not right before anal.
But the fun thing is that the guys who pushes the most on anal sex are terrified of trying it themselves. So I tell the guys, if you want to try it yourself, go ahead, but you can't push anyone to do something you don't even know how it feels like. So if the girl can take a dildo and shove it up his ass, then he can have something to say to her that, well, I tried it. Can I try it on you? And if she still doesn't want to, that's also okay.
That's a good point.
Anal sex is very, very, very individual if you like it or not. And a lot of men says that, oh, well, but only gay guys like anal sex. And it's not true, because you have the prostate, and the prostate doesn't care if you're gay or straight or bi or poly or whatever, because it's your biology. It's physical. It's something all men has. And it's a pleasure point. It's the man's G spot. And it can be reached during anus by putting a finger in or a toy. But most guys say, oh no, if I like anal sex, I must be gay. That's completely bullshit. And a lot of gay people, they don't like anal sex. They don't like anal penetration because it's not the anal sex that makes you gay. Luckily, or straight.
Exactly, yeah.
So I think a lot of men should get over themselves and dare to explore. They have a lot of pleasure points in their anus, and they should try it out because they're missing out by being freaks.
And
if you're so afraid for something, if you're so scared of try something sexual, you have to go inside and say, why is this dangerous?
And this comes back actually to being comfortable about sex when you're a kid, because all these taboo things, all this stressful, emotional situation about sex, it comes from there. So if you were naturally, talking about everything, etc., when you were like 4 years old up, and it wouldn't be such an issue. So yeah,
that's correct.
I've got another question. I got a lot of biases, so I'd like to ask on one of those, and that's the different cultures that you meet, because I have this bias, of course, that most of your couples would be ethnically Norwegian. They wouldn't be from other cultures. Is that true or not? Do we have like couples from Somalia or from somewhere in Africa meeting you as much as we do typical ethnic Norwegian couples?
Well, it's like I live in Norway, so it's basically a lot of mishmash of everything. And I have couples from all over the world coming to me. I have not only Norwegian couples from different races, I have also I have Zoom clients from USA and Australia, actually. And I have all races and all cultures, and I have mixed couples, and those are the really fun parts, because you have if the woman is from India and the guy is from Norway, it's like, okay, we have a difficult situation here because it's different cultures. Yeah. But I have all sorts of couples and people coming to me, and I have people from Iraq and Iran and Africa and Thailand and Somalia and all over the world.
That's really nice, because then I get rid of these biases that I have whenever you say it. So that's also really nice.
But the fun thing is that a lot of the same cultures has the same problems, and that's interesting.
They're called men.
You said it. No, actually,
I totally believe it.
For example, all the guys from Iraq and Afghanistan, they have a lot of the same problems, and all the women from India have the same problems, and a lot of the guys from Norway has the same problems. You can see that similarity problems from where they come from, and I can put pieces together from that's because of religion or culture or what they grew up with. How did they talk about sex when they were kids? How did the parents talk about sex? How was the rape culture? Like, you have rape cultures in every country.
What a terrible term to use, rape and culture beside each other. It's crazy.
Yeah, but it's true. in several parts of Africa, for example, and also the Middle East, rape isn't a bad thing for the men. Like if you rape someone in Norway, you know you have done a bad thing. You know it's wrong. You know it's illegal, and you know that if you get punished, it can be a hard sentence.
Yeah.
But some cultures, rape is cultural, and the women, they grow up learning that most likely they will get raped during a lifetime. And a lot of the women I have in my couch here, they talk about rape like, well, it was a horrible experience, but it's normal where I come from. So rape culture is, I agree, it's a horrible thing to say in the same sentence, but we have to face the facts that it's different cultures around the world, and people look at sex differently around the world. And like we say in Norwegian, plikt sex, like duty sex. It's a duty to have sex with your spouse. Yeah. A lot of women experience that, and we don't talk about it. No, and in Norway, that's a huge problem.
I have a question for you. Do you, from your experience with all the patients and people that you talk to, do you have a correlation between how religious background they come from and how fucked up they are?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Because that's a bias I had. I mean, learning from Brendan basically, but
no, but it's true, and it doesn't matter if it's
wouldn't sleep with me. That's the point. No.
No, but it's actually true, because it's if it's Christianity or Islam or Hinduism, or it doesn't matter. But if they grew up strict religious, no matter what religion you have, they are more fucked up sexually. And I have a lot of more work to do. So I know if a strict religion person comes to me, I know they need double the sessions.
Yeah, this is exactly what I suspected.
Because I have to break through the religion. And especially Christianity is a bitch when it comes to this, because you have the Virgin Mary, and then you have Maria Magdalena, the whore. And I tried desperately to explain that, well, it doesn't say anywhere in the Bible that Maria Magdalene was a whore. So that was the priest who translated the Bible in the 18th century that decided that she was a whore, because Jesus couldn't have a female supporter like that, and most likely a wife, because they needed the higher guy to be, he should be pure, he should be clean, he shouldn't be married, he should be the savior.
12 guys hanging around together. 12 guys hanging around together in the forest today would be a little bit strange thing to do.
Yes, but I think it's actually fun, because a Norwegian priest, he wrote the book Sex in the Bible, or Sex i Bibelen, and he actually he writes about all the sex stories in the Bible, in both the Old and New Testament, and explain how it's been mistranslated during the centuries. And it's so interesting, because it's really, really funny to see how mistranslated a lot of things have been. And you have the whore and Madonna syndrome, especially with Christians and Jewish people. And I have to break through that. And like I said, if you come from a strong religious point of view, you need double the sessions.
Just as a side note, I just want to pitch in one thing, and that was back in 1991, there was a guy who did his master or PhD thesis on reincarnation and the Bible. And he said that in Nicaea, they removed all the sentences about reincarnation in the Bible, except they missed 19. There is still 19 sentences pointing to reincarnation in the Bible, but they scrubbed it because they didn't want people to think they would live another life, because then they could get out of, I don't care about the punishment, just kill me, it's fine, I'll get back. So they needed the punishment factor, therefore they took out the reincarnation. So there's a lot of scrubbing of stuff from the Bible because of control mechanism by the church. And sex, I guess, is also one of them.
I think it's funny, because sex is a huge part of the Bible, both having more wives. So I think it's really funny that the priests of the 18th century suddenly put monogamy on the picture. Like monogamy was the only way to live, because monogamy is only 200 years old. monogamy isn't natural for human beings. And in the Bible, a lot of the guys have a lot of wives. And daughters having sex with her father, their fathers, to bring the family name further. So yeah, if you're highly religious, your sexuality will be fucked up, most likely. And it's sad that it's like that.
I think it's great that you raise awareness around also the cultural thing, because I think that's that's also a big part of the self-esteem problem that we have with kids, also the cultural shifting and how they meet other kids, Norwegians, and how we should talk about sex with our children, and like you said also. But the time flies, and I really hope that you will join us for another webinar, because I think we could have talked about this like for 2 or 3 more hours. But before before we wrap it up, Tone, do you have like your best tips for those who are viewing regarding this subject? For
talk to each other. Communication is key, and you have to masturbate, because you have to learn your own sexuality before you can teach someone else how you want it. And if you want a rich and fulfilled sex life, you need to masturbate, and you need to talk to your partner how you like it. And to talk to your partner, you know how to figure it out yourself first. So masturbation and communication is the key to the best sex life you can have.
Excellent tip.
Yeah.
It's the best tip I have. And also read the book Come As You Are. It's the best way to figure out your own sexuality and your buttons, on and off buttons. So the book Come As You Are, highly recommend it.
That's a really cool title.
It is.
Yeah, it's a
and
cool,
that's in English.
Cool.
Come As You Are is the English title, and Kom Som Du Er is the Norwegian title.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Thanks for joining, Tone, and then we will
Thanks for asking.
This was really cool. Thank you, Tone.
Thanks.
Anytime.